Hello, I'm back with a new video and I'm very excited about this one because it is part 2 of my insert making video, and I am making ink swatch notebooks for my fountain pen inks. And I printed out some grid paper on some mixed media paper, and as you can see, the printing did not work very well, but if I close it, it kind of looks, it's decent. But it is for my ink swatches, and so I'm not mad. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started. Now I will be making hardcover inserts for this part 2. The first part was actually, let me go ahead and get it really quick. This was part 1. So this insert is actually just using cardstock and using sketch paper with a printed grid pattern, and as you can see, it is a soft cover. It is stitched, if you can tell. And so this is one of the inserts I will be using for 2026. I do have a few more inserts that I still have to make, but that will be like a separate video. So let me go ahead and get started with the materials that you'll probably need. And I need. Okay, so to make a hardcover notebook, you will need, your cover paper. So I have this decorative paper, and then I also have cardstock, or I think 1-ply cardboard. If you have like old sketchbooks, this was kind of like where you would get this material. And then, or if you don't have the cardstock, you can use just a thicker piece of paper. So this is just like a thicker, this is cardstock. It's just a white cardstock that you can use. So I will be using both cardstock and this cardboard. Is it cardboard? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll be using this, I forgot what it's called. There's a proper name for it, but I'm gonna be using both of these. So it's basically the same process. It's just depends on how thick you want your insert to be. So this is actually an insert that I did for some expenses. I can't really show the expenses. Don't wanna, there it is. So this is one of the sketchbooks I used, and as you can see, it's a really thick notebook. It's really nice. I really like how it feels. It feels like a proper insert, in my opinion, and it's just really nice. I love how this feels, but it's definitely a more substantial notebook. If you're putting this in a traveler's notebook, it will get thick very quickly, if that makes sense. Your traveler's notebook will get thick pretty quickly. But I really love this. I did 2 of them to sort of experiment with different techniques. So this is another one, and these are both Japanese wrapping paper. This one is a matte paper, and this is very typical of your almost your American wrapping paper for gifts. I really love this texture a billion times over, hence why I'll be using this. This is also another one, and I really had to experiment with the binding and stuff like that. I do have to mention that they don't close very well. So FYI, that's something you're gonna have to deal with if you have hard cover inserts. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do actually is get my decorative paper. And the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna use this as a template. It's my traveler's, it's just a normal traveler's insert, but it's the same size and everything. So that's gonna be my first thing that I'm gonna do. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna add an inch on every single border. Let's see if I can. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add an inch on every single side of the decorative paper and cut. You need at least an inch, in my opinion. What I'm doing is I'm taking my utility knife. This is a Olaf knife. If you don't know what Olaf is, it's a Japanese brand. It's one of the best quality knives that I've used, and I have mentioned it in other videos. But nonetheless, the first thing I'm gonna do is there is a little bit of jagged edges here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and trim a little bit so I can get a really nice even edge. And yeah, a lot of things is probably gonna be out of frame in this video, and that's just there's nothing I can really do about it. A lot of the stuff that I have is big and have to sort of cut it down to size, so it's gonna be a bit finicky. Okay, so that is the first cut. As you can see, I have the decorative paper. This is how my cover is going to be looking for this particular journal. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. I'm definitely not getting everything that I should be getting, but okay, I think we're in frame now. But nonetheless, so now that is the cover that I'm working with. I'm gonna go ahead and relay it out. So that's, yeah, that seems to be about right. It's not like this, right? It seems to be either or. I'm gonna do it this way. So that's the first thing. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my traveler's journal, and I'm gonna actually just mark the edges of the journal like so. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some guidelines basically. So that is my first step. After that, what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to take the paper that I want to basically make the rigidity that I need for the insert. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this cardstock. I actually have a thicker cardstock that I want to use. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna lay this out and mark the middle. Yeah, I'm gonna mark the middle really quick, or better yet, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to fold it so I can get the middle crease. So I drew my guidelines, I folded the middle, so now I sort of know where the middle is. So now that I have my paper cut and I have my cardstock that I will be using on the inside, and I also have the cardboard that's 1 ply that I can use on the inside, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this paper to fit the 2 sides of the travel journal. So I think the only thing that I have to do, I believe this is actually cut correctly to the same size. So the only thing I have to do is, as we did before, we actually folded this so we can get the center crease. So I'm going to actually measure at the center crease, which is right here. I don't know if you can see it on camera. And I'm just going to cut, and that should be both sides of my travel journal. Now, as you can see, there is no room for the bind. So what I'm gonna have to do is actually, I'm going to trim an extra half a centimeter off, so that I can have a little bit more room for the bind, and there'll be a little bit more flexibility with the notebook itself. I'm gonna go ahead, trim that extra that extra half centimeter, and take this off. And then this should fit nice and snug. There we go, we have extra room for the bind. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to just paste these on the actual cover. Now I am going to use double-sided tape for this because I have used glue in the past, and if you can see, you get like this ripple effect that I don't appreciate, and that is because the glue is way too wet and I ran out of glue sticks. So I do have to go buy more, but I do have a lot of double-sided tape and I do have a lot of glue. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna force myself to use it because it's getting old, and I was like, it has to, it just has to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put down, well, that's great, put this to the side here. I'm going to put down the double-sided tape. Just cut, oops, it's a little too much. Do I have a paperweight? I don't. I do. Do need to get the bottom. Oops. Go ahead, lift that. Actually I should lift on this side first. There we go. Come on. Okay. Do I not have like a paper? Okay, I'm gonna put this here, Okay, do the other side. My God, straight is not a thing today. Okay, I'm gonna peel up this tape. Right, so. Okay, this is bigger. They're supposed to be the same freaking size. That means my lines are not straight. We'll do the best we can. Okay, those are pasted down. Next thing I'm gonna do is covered, make sure everything is correct. That's really pretty. Is this upside down? Well, it doesn't matter because it's fine. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to fold all the edges. Okay, fold all the edges of... Now I am using the cardstock to fold my edges so that they're nice and straight. And as you can see, that's what happens. Okay, and as you can see, there's boxes. I'm actually gonna go ahead and trim where these boxes are. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna do 45-degree angles on every corner, including the center bind. So we're gonna go at the center, cut, cut. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a mess, it's a mess, it's a mess, it's a mess. Anyway, I'm cutting the 45 for, what happens is when you fold the material in, it kind of stacks on itself and it makes this weird, like, it's just too much material on top of one another. So just cutting at a 45 just reduces the stacking of material per se. So as you can see, I cut at 45. Well, I mean, it's not like the most accurate 45 that you've ever seen in your entire life, but this will be hidden underneath a few. When I get to the next step, you'll know what I mean, but I did miss a few corners here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, so as you can see, when I fold it over, you don't have like you don't have like a lot of material on top of one another. So that's my next step though. We're gonna go ahead and fold all of the material on top of one another. I will be using glue this time around, just because it is a little bit, just because the double-sided tape doesn't really stick as, I guess, as strong. I do have this is like really old glue, so I'm gonna go ahead and like take a little bit at a time. I'm gonna try to be I'm gonna apply the thinnest layer I possibly can, just because it is wetter glue, so it does have that sort of rippling effect that you get with like wet glue. So I'm gonna put that to the side. You only need the smallest amount, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do one like so. As you can see, it's already starting to ripple. That is okay. What I'm gonna use, so I'm gonna use this is actually a clay tool, but they also use it for like bookbinding. There's like a similar tool, and I'm just gonna go ahead and use this to press my edges. Now, if you wanna get like a very neat notebook, you fold all the similar edges at the same time. So I've ran out of glue, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick up some more and just apply a thin amount, just roll the bead like so. Okay, put that to the side really quick. I'm gonna fold over like so. You can see a little bit of a mess here, a little bit of a mess. That is because I need to clean my desk. If you saw my desk, it would be the ugliest thing you've ever seen. So that's my similar edges, and now we're gonna go ahead, fold these. So I'm gonna go ahead, start with here, get a small bead of glue, and just move the bead across like so. Try to get the edges. The edges are what sort of lift during, like, over time. So just push. Try to stay as clean as possible during this process. For me, gluing has always been very tough. So I'm just gonna push the material down, grab my little, that's really nice. Okay, repeat. This is extra glue. Take the extra glue off. Don't keep extra glue. Always take that extra glue off. It makes a mess in the long run, and it's just the most annoying thing ever. Okay, fold it over like so. Push from the edge inwards. And then as you can see, I got a little glue on the cutting mat, so I'm just gonna rub that off and get it off as quickly as possible, because I want the cover to be as clean as possible. So we don't want to like move the cover on top of the glue and then end up getting like glue stains. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to the next half here. Get a bead of glue, only a little bit, you don't need very much. Push, then again. Oof, I need to get a stand for that or something. Just push corners going in. As you can see, that is how the Traveler's Journal is looking like so far. And I think this is how I wanted it. So that's like the cover so far. Now, what we have to do is we actually have to cover the inside. And so I'm gonna go get my decorative paper again and measure. So this is looking really good. I think this section is what we might want to use. We could also use this section. It's not big enough. we want to cover the edges. So I'm gonna go ahead. I do have to cover literally like all the way down. I could have done that first. It's okay though. Cover all the way down. I'm gonna go ahead. This almost has to be like guesstimate here and cut like right here. Okay, I'm gonna cut. What I'm doing now is I'm actually cutting the inner layer of the notebook. So I measured it out, and now I'm gonna go ahead and take my Olaf knife that I got glue on. Great, that's great. Go ahead and cut this into straight off. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this on top. As you can see, it's a little bit too big, so I'm gonna trim the edges a little bit. Too big. I'm gonna trim all the way. There we go. That's perfect. Then I'm gonna trim a little bit on top. Now I know I can't do that. Still too big. More. That's okay. We won't die. A little bit more. Nice chunk. This should do it. Okay. That's perfect. So as you can see, this is the inside cover. And actually, what we're gonna do is we are going to use double-sided tape for this. And that is because, again, the rippling is a real thing. No, actually, you know what? I am gonna do glue. You know what? Yeah, I changed my mind. I'm gonna do glue. Buddy, I'm gonna deal with it later. I gotta deal with it now. Does it come off now? It's gonna dry on that. Come here. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my glue again, and I'm going to get the edges. I'm gonna put this to the side really quick and get the edges of this. It's a bit, I might have to do this at the edge. So I get there's a little bit of love and attention on the side. Yeah, that's not okay. Now that I have glued the inside, or I've glued like the layer that goes on the inside of the cover, I'm going to go ahead, grab my cover, grab my inner layer, and I am going to paste it right inside. I don't press down right away. I'm just positioning it, so if there's any glue on the outside, it won't like ruin anything. So I'm just gonna move it. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. I think I'm gonna go ahead, start moving a little bit here, a little bit there, and then I think you can start pressing down. And I think that's as good as it's gonna get. As you can see, it's rippling. And that is where this bad boy comes in. And I'm just gonna go ahead and smooth the edges as much as I possibly can. I did get a little bit of a ripple here. Actually, I got a lot of ripples. Oops. Now your first is going to be your worst. So I would highly recommend, you know, doing like a practice before you go in and do like your final piece. This is like actually decorative paper that was on sale, so I'm not mad at any mistakes I do with this. As you can see, she is good to go. And I'm gonna go ahead and fold it like so to the crease of the notebook. And now we have a cover. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take, I think I should just put them all in one. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just make one, because I only have like 3 sheets for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and make one book. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and make one book. It's gonna be a very thick book, don't get me wrong, but perfect. So as you can see, she is good. What I'm gonna do is the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure everything is as tight as I possibly can for this notebook. Yeah, she's tight. Okay, tight. And as you can see, there is these outside pages, and that's because this is a very thick paper. It is mixed media paper, so I mean, it's gonna be quite thick. So as you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and just mark where it comes out, and I'm gonna cut it. I'll go like this, take this bad boy, try to get all the pages as neat as possible. Nothing in life is 100%, so we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna trim these edges off. Okay, this is all scrap paper now. And I think the bottom edges are actually quite nice. I don't really have to worry about those. And now when I add it into my cover, it is nice and snug. I think I might trim. This is fine. This might not be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that really quick. Go ahead and do the other side. Here we go. Now that is my insert cleaned up a little bit. Now I'm gonna go ahead, put this in the inside. We have a really nice looking book. I kind of want to center this a little bit. better. And as you can see, we have our insert. This is the standard side by Traveler's Journal, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up like I would open a normal book. And I'm going to actually clasp. Next thing I have is my handy dandy paper clips or binder clips that I'm gonna use to secure the pages to the notebook and start my stitching. Go like that, get the other one, and like that. I'm gonna shimmy it on the inside. And now, time to do some more measuring. So I'm gonna go ahead, lay it down flat, make sure when I lay it flat, it should be on the crease, which it is. I'm gonna lay it down flat, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Ugh. This is what a mess, yikes. This always happens when I work. It just gets like this giant, like, it's just terrible. Okay, I'm gonna use the same awl. I think I'm gonna need like really big holes, so I have to clean up the glue really quick. Oh, bro, I'm gonna use the other one. Never mind, I'm still using this one. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, take my ruler, I'm going to do holes every 1 inch. So that's a hole, that's a hole. I think that should be really good. Did a hole at every 1 inch. Now we stab away. This is gonna be tough. Oopa, that's 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, 4 holes, 5 holes, 6, 7. So as you can see, I have 7 holes. I have 7 holes for the bind, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take some string and needle, and I'm going to string the needle like so. And I'm going to take an arm's length of string. You don't need as much string as you think you need, like I mentioned in part 1. So I'm going to take 1 arm's length, and that should be enough. And I'm going to do a double string bind. You can do 1 string, but I think 2 strings is just like, you get like a thicker bind, and you also get like more rigidity. And because this is thick paper, it's pretty important. Cut ahead, cut. I'm just going to tie a regular knot. I know there's like a special way to like tie like a sewer's knot. I don't know what that is, I should say. So I'm just going to go ahead and just tie a regular knot, but I am going to do a double knot just because my holes are on the big side for this. So I do want to make sure that the knot will not go through the hole when I start sewing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the inside in the middle. It could be any one of these. So I'm going to just do, so like I have 3 here, so my middle is actually right here, and I'm gonna push and pull like so. And then as you can see, my knot becomes an anchor. And then I'm gonna go in, out, in, out, in, out. So make sure that that doesn't happen. Pull, make sure that you see the outside binding is nice and taut. Go back in, pull. As you can see, we're starting to get the bind underway. Now, once you get to the end, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna do in, out, in, out, in, out. So as you can see, we are at the edge of the notebook. We're gonna go back inside on the other side, like so, and just pull, make sure everything's nice and tight. And as you can see, we are gonna go and we're gonna move down the book, inside out accordingly. Make sure that you always check when you pull, because this happens and you just gotta make sure that you can fix it. And then pull, make sure it's nice and tight. It doesn't have to be like super tight. It just has to be tight enough so that this is nice and neat. And as you can see, we are at the original entry point. As you can see, we're at the original entry point, and we're gonna go ahead and just push at the original entry point. It's fine. Just like move the knot to the side and like push, as you can see. And then we're gonna move in, out, so the needle is on the outside. Come on, oops, see what's going now, right? And now the needle again is on the outside, so we're gonna go ahead, oopsie. Oh man, it's okay. We're gonna keep trying anyway. There we go. Pull like so, make sure everything is as neat as possible. Both sides. Go back up into the inside of the notebook. Oops, it was not as centered as I wanted it to, but it's okay. Go back, make sure the bind, and as you can see, you get a nice binding on the outside. I'm gonna go back into the original hole, and because I have a lot of stitch left or a lot of string left, I am gonna do a few loops anyway. Might as well just use the string. There's nothing I can really do with it after I do this. So we're back at the original, and we're gonna go back and do another layer. Okay, just getting a little tight. Not enough room for my needle. There you go. So now that I'm reaching my last stitch, I kind of want to end it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and string it in like so into that last hole. And I'm just going to go back. Yeah, I'm going to go back here. In order to end this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull up the knot and shove the needle between the two strings that happen once. So I don't know if you can see, I'm gonna see on camera. So if you can see, the knot is so, and then you see how we have two strings? I basically put the needle in between the two strings. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to pull the string. But before I tighten it all the way, I'm going to take the needle again and go through this loop, effectively making a knot. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use my fingers and use like the tension and then just knot it underneath the original knot that's at the center of the bind. So I'm gonna go pull, I'm gonna pull, I'm gonna pull, and I'm basically making sure that it doesn't tighten before I want it to. I'm pulling, and then there you go. I've basically tied that center bind. I'm gonna go ahead, just cut here, gonna cut here. This is a thicker knot than I usually do, but I am completely okay with that for this. What you can do if you want to is you can basically shove the knot inside the binding if you can like get it to do that. I actually made way too many knots. I think I did like 3 knots because it felt like not knotty enough, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just gonna move the knot away. And there you go, that is the bind. And so I'm gonna take off the clip and I should be able to close it. And that is my insert for my ink swatches. As you can see, it is like this. That is because this is an extremely thick paper. If you see my other, my other insert, you can tell that like it's like completely fine. It's like every other insert. That is because this is sketch paper and this is mixed media paper. So I know that this is gonna be thick. I do have every intention of putting like a clasp on it to keep it closed. But for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and take my binder clips and like sort of let this sit for a couple of days or till the next time I use it, so that it will like eventually like bend to the will of the paper clips. But that's the insert for my ink swatches. I'm super excited to use this. I actually recently purchased a few more inks that I do want to start swatching and start cataloging, and so this is what I'm going to use for that. Unfortunately, I ran out of decorative paper to do another one of these, so that's gonna be a later video, unfortunately, but it is the same process if you want to use like a thicker cardstock material on the inside of the notebook or on the inside of the cover. I am gonna keep practicing making inserts till I get it down to a science, because I love making my own inserts, and I love the idea that I can like, that I can really personalize my notebooks in a different way. And another thing is like, I do have like paper preferences for like some things that, of course, a traveler's notebook and other people don't provide. So this is a good way to get past that. But nonetheless, thank you for joining me for this video. My desk is literally like a mess. So I'm gonna spend some time doing that and hopefully get this video edited and out to you guys. Nonetheless, thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!